Welcome back, Cyber Explorers. It's Alfie, and in this video we'll explore together with this step-by-step guide how to install Linux openSUSE 15, separate disk, standalone. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First, let's clarify the title. Separate disk means that we will install openSUSE on its own disk. So get your disk ready and ensure you don't need anything on that disk because it will be formatted. Standalone means there will be no other operating system connected to the PC during the openSUSE installation process. So if you want to install openSUSE this way, and you have a Windows installation on the PC already, disconnect the Windows disk. After you finish the openSUSE installation, reconnect the Windows disk, and you will be able to switch between the systems, Windows and openSUSE, from the boot menu, or from the BIOS or UEFI or other ways. This way we ensure that the grub bootloader will be installed on the openSUSE disk, and not on the Windows disk. Second, you will need an openSUSE installation media, such as an openSUSE bootable USB drive. Our video on how to create an openSUSE bootable USB drive with Rufus might help you. The link is in the description below. Third, you will need to insert the USB drive into the computer, then restart the PC, and access the BIOS or UEFI. Adjust the boot priority to boot from the USB drive, or you can enter the boot menu and boot from the USB drive directly. Our video on how to boot from a USB drive might help you. The link is in the description below. When you first boot from the Linux openSUSE installation media, choose Installation and hit Enter. At the Welcome to openSUSE screen, choose your language and keyboard layout, then click Next. At the Online Repository section, you can choose Yes or No depending on your preference. Choosing Yes means you'll have access to the latest software packages and updates directly from the internet. This is convenient if you have a good internet connection. Selecting No means you'll only use the packages available on the installation media, like the DVD or USB drive you have. This might be useful if you don't have a reliable internet connection, or if you want to avoid downloading additional packages during installation. I will choose No. At the System Role screen, select your desktop environment, KDE Plasma, a modern and feature-rich desktop environment. It's visually appealing and highly customizable, perfect if you like to tweak your interface. GNOME, another popular desktop environment that's user-friendly and visually clean. It's designed for simplicity and efficiency. Xfce, a lightweight desktop environment that requires fewer system resources. It's ideal if you have an older computer, or you prefer a faster, more responsive interface. Generic desktop, a basic setup without a specific desktop environment. You might choose this if you plan to install a different desktop environment later on. Server, a setup without a graphical interface, meant for server purposes. This is useful if you're setting up a server and don't need a desktop environment. I will go with KDE Plasma, then click Next. As mentioned, we will be installing openSUSE on its own disk. Note that disks in Linux will appear as SDA, SDB, etc., or NVMe0N1, NVMe1N1, etc., and partitions will show as SDAE1, SDAE2, etc., or NVMe0N1P1, NVMe0N1P2, etc. At the disk partitioning screen, review the suggested partitioning and click Next, and openSUSE will partition the disk automatically. Be aware that openSUSE uses BTRFS, B-tree file system, as the default file system. Alternatively, you can choose Expert Partitioner. Select Start with Current Proposal if you want to make changes to the suggested partitioning, or select Start with Existing Partitions to partition the disk manually. If you have a used disk, you might see a few existing partitions. Select each partition one by one and click Delete. The easiest partitioning scheme on a non-GPT disk is simply a root partition and a swap partition. Note, the swap partition is not required. You can set up a swap file instead later, as openSUSE uses a swap partition by default. If the disk is GPT type, you must also add a BIOS boot or an EFI partition, depending on the boot mode of your BIOS, legacy BIOS, or UEFI. If you are planning to create a swap partition, then allocate the system partition with max size minus swap size. The swap partition should be the same size as your RAM, or double it if you have low RAM. Now select the disk you want to install openSUSE on and click Add Partition to create the first partition, which is the EFI System Partition, ESP. Select Custom Size and make it 500 MB to 1 GB, then click Next. Select the role as EFI Boot Partition and click Next. Select the file system as FAT, partition ID as EFI System Partition, mount point as Boot EFI, and click Next. Now click Add Partition to create the second partition, which is the system partition. Select max size or custom size, and make it max size, minus swap size if you are planning on creating a swap partition, then click Next. Select the role as operating system and click Next. Select the file system as BTRFS or ext4, partition ID as Linux, mount point as / or root, and click Next. Now click Add Partition to create the third partition, which is the swap partition. Select max size and click Next. Select the role as swap and click Next. Select the file system as swap, partition ID as Linux swap, mount point as swap, and click Next. Finally, click Accept, review the changes to partitioning, and click Next. Next, select your time zone and click Next. Now you can create a new user or skip user creation. To create a new user, enter the full name, username, password, and confirm it. Then click Next. At the installation review, you can change some installation settings if needed. Then click Install twice and wait for the installation to finish. And that's it for today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and don't forget to activate the notification bell so you won't miss out on any new uploads. Thank you for watching. Until next time, see you later.